Listen, this episode's just going to be fiery, so let's get it started. Start the intro. The Denver Broncos have hired former Saints head coach Sean Payton, baby. Wait, actually, no. We are not having Sean Payton be in this intro until he at least has a winning record as the Denver Broncos head coach. Or he's fired. I'm not sure which. But until then, he is being removed. Just see ya. Bye. Although if he beats the Chiefs, I will add. If he beats the Chiefs, fine. You can come back. Anyways, resume. We're holding. Ah!
What the hell is pimento cheese?
Tom Brady has announced his retirement from the NFL. For real this time. Come on, kick the field goal, take the points. Win the game.
No, you have to say that.
See you later. Welcome to Ruffing the Passer, the show that talks football, miscellaneous stuff, and mostly football. I am your host, Sam Ruffing, and this is episode 8384, I don't care. It's one of those. I'll have it up there. Anyways, there is nothing else to say anymore. Let's just get on to the episode. Let's start with the most painful, agonizing game in the history of the Denver Broncos. Well, at least since, Super Bowl 43. The Denver Broncos played the Miami Dolphins on Sunday. And they scored 20 points, so congratulations to Denver. He scored more than 16. The Miami Dolphins scored 70 points. 70 points. How on earth does a football team that calls themselves professional allow this to happen? This is just utterly horrendous. I just don't know what to say. Watching that, or at least the highlights of the game, because, NFL Network has that NFL Game Day Live highlights, which is like Red Zone but cheaper, but, shows highlights, shows sometimes some live plays. Pretty interesting. I got to see some of the Broncos-Dolphins game, and oh my head. That was some of the just worst football I have ever seen. Every time Miami touched the ball, they gained 10 yards at the very least. The defense put up no efforts in tackling. Just absolutely none. They couldn't give two flying flipsins fudges about trying to stop the Miami offense. It was touchdown after touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. The offense didn't even play poorly for Denver was the worst part, but I'm not going to get into that. Actually, it's not even the worst part, but even still, I have not seen such a horrendous defensive performance ever. Just ever. Like maybe in college football. But even TCU was able to stop the Georgia offense a little bit better than this one. I mean, the Colorado Buffaloes played better than the Denver Broncos did yesterday. And I knew that the hiring of Vance Joseph would be an utter mistake. I was going to make a video about it way back then, and I actually did record some of it. Maybe I'll share it in this video. Who knows? I didn't post it because it was kind of long and meandering, and it wasn't my favorite. But I knew that hiring Vance Joseph was going to be a problem. I mean, this man was good as a defensive coordinator twice in his career, maybe. I mean, 2016 with the Dolphins, he was all right. His first year in Denver, the defense was good, but that's because they were bringing back so many pieces from that Super Bowl 50 defense. So obviously they were going to be good. But since then, 2018, they had the 21st ranked defense in the NFL, Denver. And then in Arizona, his defense was mid to terrible. Like, just not good. And Sean Payton saw all that and was like, yeah, I'll bring him back. And I just knew it would fail utterly horrendously. This team could have brought back Vic Fangio, although I would have hated that, but I guess it works out. It would have worked out because it's working out for Miami. They could have brought in so many other players. Heck, you could have brought in Rex Ryan. I don't care. He would have done better. Sean Payton could have even brought in. Okay, Sean Payton should have brought in Ejiro Evero, but he didn't want it to come back because, well, he claims, because they did his boy Nathaniel Hackett dirty. Which, if you don't want to come back to a team because of Nathaniel Hackett and because they fired Nathaniel Hackett, how nice of a guy is Nathaniel Hackett? I mean, that is some mad props to Ejiro Evero for sticking with his friend there. I kind of salute it, even though Hackett was horrendous. But was it really that, or was Denver just didn't want to pay him? I don't know what. Because literally, how much money would have it taken? Would have it taken? I don't know. To bring Ejiro Evero back. It couldn't have been much. I mean, maybe an extra $1 to $2 million a year on his contract. I think Rob Walton of Walmart fame could definitely afford that. May not be able to afford a cashier, but I think he could afford to pay Ejiro Evero. And yeah, I think he would have done a little bit better of a job with his defense. I just have a strange, odd feeling. Can't really tell you what it is, but I think they would do better than Vance Joseph, who stinks. You know what's even worse? He almost brought in Matt Patricia too. Matt Patricia, whose defense got better once he left Detroit, whose defense got better when he left New England. He almost brought that guy in. Although I think Matt Patricia would do a better job of coordinating this defense. This defense that has no pass rushers. I mean, for goodness sake, I hear all this talk about Randy Gregory. Randy Gregory gets so many pressures and absolutely 0 sacks. None. He's terrible. Well, not terrible, but just overhyped. Gets no sacks, and I hear so many people in the analytical community be like, ooh, pressures are so much more reliable than sacks. You know what can work? Sacks. Sacks means the quarterback's on the ground. Pressures mean jack all. I mean, it could mean maybe they forced an interception, or it could mean the quarterback just didn't get sacked and ran away and gained some yards, scored a touchdown, had a deep pass. Who the heck knows? Sacks mean the quarterback is on the ground. You know who got a sack in very limited play? Nick Bonito. Do we ever see him on the field? No. But we see Randy Gregory out there all the time. We see Frank Clark out there all the time, and he hasn't had a sack this year. You know, I bet you Bradley Chubb could get a few sacks, but we had to trade him. And what did we do with that draft pick? They traded for Sean Payton, a man who criticized Nathaniel Hackett for having one of the worst coaching jobs in NFL history. Well, guess what, Sean Payton? Nathaniel Hackett never allowed 70 points. 70 points, the most points scored by an NFL team since 1966. The third most all-time in an NFL game, behind the Redskins scoring 72 in 66, and the Chicago Bears scoring 73 upon the Washington Redskins back in the 1930s. Which could have happened here. But thankfully Miami was gracious enough to take the knee and not give Denver, and not have Denver be faced with the worst regular season loss in NFL history. So thank you, Miami. I would kind of like to send you something. I don't know, a gift, maybe. Thank you card. I'll just send you the thank you video. Thank you, Miami. You did not completely humiliate us. You took grace on us. Salute to you. Love you. Anyways. Even though I did predict you were going to go 8-9, which looks horrendous right now, and I will admit, I guess I'm wrong. But congratulations. This Sean Payton guy, this Sean Payton guy, who's supposedly so brilliant as a head coach. Yet he has the exact same record as Mike McCarthy. Or around the same record. A guy everyone makes fun of in Mike McCarthy, who he's won as many Super Bowls and many Super Bowl appearances as Mike McCarthy. Yet, We all will praise Sean Payton as some genius while Mike McCarthy gets dumped on every single year. Even though Mike McCarthy has shown he can actually win with other quarterbacks like Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott. Sean Payton has won with Drew Brees. And yeah, he won with Jameis Winston that one season. But with Russell Wilson, nothing. Jerry Rosberg was winning with Russell Wilson. Sean Payton? No. And for anyone who says, well, he won with Jameis Winston, yeah, you know what he also had that year? A good defense. I mean, he had defensive coordinator Dennis Allen, who's now the Saints head coach, and who was winning with Derek Carr at quarterback, which is an amazing stat because Raiders can do anything with Derek Carr. And obviously Derek Carr got hurt and they lost, but I mean, you know what Sean Payton was before Dennis Allen? Before he took over as DC in New Orleans? He was back-to-back 7-9s. 7-9s with some of the worst defensive play ever. I mean, just terrible defenses in 2016 and 2015. That's with Drew Brees at quarterback. How do you go 7-9 and 7-9 with Drew Brees? That's just unbelievable. This is healthy Drew Brees. This is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Drew Brees. And Sean Payton did that? He did that? How? I mean, huh? Todd Bowles went 8-9 with Tom Brady, and he's seen as a failure. Sean Payton goes 7-9 twice with Drew Brees, and we all laud him and praise him. This is the same Sean Payton who said last year at Fox Sports that he thinks Tua Tagovailoa was going to be benched for Teddy Bridgewater eventually. And that Tua Tagovailoa just put up 4 touchdowns upon his team. And is definitely not going to be benched by Teddy Bridgewater, who I don't even think is on that roster. I don't even know where he is. Just as long as he's as far away from Denver as possible, I'm happy. This same Sean Payton, who called out Russell Wilson, who called out Russell Wilson's team, who called out his training habits, his media personality, his personality in general, and Russell Wilson followed all that to a T, and it worked out. But he doesn't call out Vance Joseph for being an absolutely terrible defensive coordinator. He doesn't call out the players on defense for giving up. This is the same Sean Payton who said in interviews on how he'd fix Russell Wilson, he'd run the ball more, he'd do some play action. Yet here we are. And how often do the Broncos run the ball? Almost never. It's been 3 games, and Javonte Williams only has 35 carries. For one of their best players, Javonte Williams is getting absolutely nothing. Why? I mean, if he's such an offensive genius, why on earth, in that Washington game, when the Broncos are on the goal line, 1st and goal, is he running Russell Wilson out to throw a ball? Why not just use... And why isn't Javonte Williams on the field? Why not use him to get in the end zone? He's one of the best backs at breaking tackles in the NFL. He is one of the hardest runners. He probably could benefit from going into the end zone. Simple, easy, 6 points right there. And what does Sean Payton do? None of that. Does he run the ball much? No. Does he take a lot of deep shots? Not necessarily. Huh? And one of the biggest gripes of Sean Payton in New Orleans is he got way too cute. And he's doing the exact same thing here. Ooh, let's throw it to Brandon Johnson. Who the heck is Brandon Johnson? Why don't we throw it more to Cortland Sutton? I know he had 2 fumbles. That was bad. Why don't we throw it to Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy? You know, the 2 best catchers on the team. Why don't we run Javonte Williams? Why are we running Samaje Perine? You know what helps a bad defense, Sean? Is running the dang ball. Running the ball. Which drains clock, which keeps the defense forced to play some free event run defense, which opens up the passing game, which opens up the play action game, which frees up everything. But you never, ever consider doing it because you have to create the most complicated offensive plays in the history of mankind, apparently. Why? Can someone please explain to me? And how on earth does the Denver go into the game against Miami and think, let's keep Damari Mathis out there and put him up against Tyreek Hill? Listen, I understand the reasoning for not putting Patrick Surtain on Tyreek Hill because, like, he's going to burn somebody, so why waste your best corner on it? But you could do a little bit better. You could do what the Patriots used to do against Tyreek Hill and, like, double team him with two of the other corners and just, I don't know, have your best corner cover the tight end, the second receiver, whomever. But no, that's a little too easy for Vance Joseph. And now this team is 0-3. They are the laughingstock of the NFL. They have one of the worst defenses I've ever seen. And they're facing the Bears next week. And in my schedule predictions, I have them losing to the Bears. And honestly, at this point, I'm not so certain that they're going to beat the Bears. Even knowing what I know about how bad the Chicago Bears are. And I do find it ironic that Sean Payton called out Russell Wilson for all his talking last season in the Let's Ride and the Team 3 and whomever else and kissing babies, whatever. Yet he himself goes on the USA Today interview, and he calls out Nathaniel Hackett like that, making an unnecessary enemy out of the Jets. Link to my video about that there. Just putting a target on his back. It's ridiculous. Hypocritical. Wow. Just wow. And he also has the gall when Russell Wilson is playing the best of his career playing top-notch football again. I mean, he's thrown 6 touchdowns this year, only 2 interceptions. Has over 100 passer rating. He's playing good football. He has the gall in that game against Washington to say, "Oh, we need to get the plays in better. We need Russ to do better on offense." When his defense is giving up 35 to the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders who just lost to the Buffalo Bills. 37-3. You give up 17 points and the defense that gave up 17 points and a win to the Las Vegas Raiders, who have since then only put up 10 points against Buffalo and 15 points against the Steelers. Let us also not forget Sean Payton cut Brandon McManus for some reason, and brought in Will Lutz. And what happened? His new kicker, because he didn't like the old kicker, misses 2 crucial field goals that would have won the game against the Raiders. But no, it's all Russell Wilson's fault. No, it's not Sean Payton's fault. I'm sorry. I know there are many more layers to this Denver Broncos team that have led to this moment of utter rock bottom. Like, I don't care who you are, unless the Broncos lose by 71, then I don't know how this can get worse. Even if they go 0-16, this is the worst loss the Broncos have faced since the Super Bowl against Seattle. And it's maybe the worst loss ever for this team. This is rock bottom. And yet we're still making excuses for Sean Payton. We're up there trying to say, oh, no, it's Russ's fault. Oh, it's... This is just plain embarrassing. Payton deserves blame. Obviously, Russ deserves blame because his contract's way too much and he's not playing as good enough to earn that contract. I will admit that. And George Payton deserves blame for not even giving Mike McDaniel an interview in 2022. Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins head coach, who just put 70 on your team. Mike McDaniel, the man who was born in Colorado, who was a ball boy for this team, who probably loves it, whose love for this team was the only thing stopping him from kicking a field goal and setting the all-time regular season scoring record. And you didn't give him an interview. Obviously, maybe it's not solely Sean Payton. There are many factors, and I will have a video about that, on what led to this rock-bottom franchise, this laughingstock of the NFL that we currently are. Well, I'm not, because I'm a fan. That the Denver Broncos currently are. But when you talk like Sean Payton does, when you make all these assumptions and can't back it up, it's not good. It really isn't good. When you call out other players while ignoring your main problem in your coaching management, your strategy, your coaching staff. It's a little bit hypocritical. And it bugs the ever-living crap out of me. And if Sean Payton loses to the New York Jets in 2 weeks, I don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. If this team is 0-5 heading into Kansas City, well, I just, wow. I mean, this is just embarrassing. This was a once proud franchise that would get playoff wins with Tim Tebow, that would get Jake Plummer to a AFC championship game, and they can't manage to do anything now. Absolutely nothing. And it is sad, sad to watch. But anyways, if they lose to the New York Jets, just blow up the entire thing. I'm sorry, just blow it up. I want just trade Patrick Surtain. Get yourself 2 firsts, because he is worth all that. Trade Justin Simmons for a first. I'm sure someone would pay a first for Justin Simmons because he's just that good. Get Jerry Jeudy out of here before his rookie contract's up. And I guess you're just going to have to cut Russell Wilson next year if somebody doesn't want to trade for him, which most likely they won't. Or try and convince Russ to take a pay cut and just tank for Caleb Williams. And hope that it goes better from there. And you know what? Maybe Sean Payton does turn around. I don't know. Obviously, he very well could. He has had a good record. But right now, I am very angry at him. I am just mad at this franchise, at this football team, at Vance Joseph. Which is sad, because it's sometimes really hard to hate Vance Joseph, because he seems like such a nice guy. And his great weeks of practice just sadly do not translate onto the field. But nope, there's no accountability on this team because Vance Joseph hasn't been fired. Apparently. So I guess he's still having the time of his life. Let me know your thoughts on the Denver Broncos in the comments below and who you think is to blame. I think it's many, many years of factors that all led to this horrific thing. But yeah. Wow. At the very least, my Sunday of watching football wasn't entirely terrible because I also got to watch a little bit of live golf. The best golf tour in the world. Anyways, I got to watch some live golf. I was just, watching the Broncos games. I decided to check in. on the Googles because they have news and Twitter and whatever, and it was like, it says Bryson DeChambeau makes a 77-foot putt, and he's coming back. So I switch over. 9 holes left. Bryson's down 4. I'm like, oh baby. And guess what? Bryson, the madman scientist, did it. He shot 3 under in the last 9 holes and scored 13 under for the total tournament to win his second LIV golf tournament in 3 starts. That's just amazing. Although I do, and you know what? It kind of made my weekend just a little bit better. I mean, the Sunday game a little bit better because even though the Denver Broncos lost, at least Bryson won. I'm a big fan. He shot 8 under. He won. And if you actually care a little bit about the teams, I'm still iffy. But, I mean, I kind of like the Crushers. They won as well. So it wasn't all bad that weekend. But after that win, Bryson was asked by the media on how he felt about not getting picked for the Ryder Cup, despite winning, 2 of his last 3 tournaments. And Bryson said that it stung a little. It honestly stung, which makes sense because, he played so well. He thought he'd earned it. I thought he earned a spot in the Ryder Cup, but he just wasn't picked. And he said he was playing the best golf he's played in forever, better than when he won the U.S. Open at Winged Foot. I mean, this man is like, my form is in like Super Saiyan. He's like hypersonic right now, man. He's like hypersonic right now. Well, let's go supersonic. He's supersonic right now, and he doesn't get picked. He's not going to be able to use his talents to beat down the Europeans and hopefully win the U.S.'s first Ryder Cup on foreign soil in 30 years. He was kind of bummed about that, but he was even more bummed about the fact he didn't receive a Ryder Cup call. Just a call from Zach Johnson letting him know that he hadn't been picked. He didn't receive a call at all that he was being considered. And what? How do you not consider this man? Well, here's how. Zach Johnson, the short golfer who has won 2 majors, but okay, I joke about his height. He's obviously not the shortest person in the world. But, even still. Anyways, he was asked in his press conference during the Ryder Cup why he didn't call Bryson DeChambeau about the Ryder Cup. Like, not even pick him, just why didn't he call him? And he says, well, the PGA has the system of points where, where they're ranked based on their performances. And Bryson was 50, so I was only looking at people between 30 and number 1 for who I was going to pick for the team. Does Zach Johnson realize that the Ryder Cup rankings are kind of faulty right now? Because the PGA, for whatever reason, has not recognized LIV Golf Tour wins in their ranking systems. Does Zach Johnson know that? Because he's the U.S. Ryder Cup captain, and he's trying to put together a squad that would win the U.S. its first Ryder Cup in Europe in 30 years. I feel like you should know that. But no. He, for some reason, some ridiculous, unknown reason, decides, I'll just use the ranking system. Sir? How? Why? Bryson DeChambeau has won 2 of the last 3 tournaments. He shot a 61 and 58 to win the LIV Golf Greenbrier. And you didn't consider him, but you picked Justin Thomas, who has been terrible this season, whose best finish in a major is 66th at the PGA Championship. And all the others he missed the cut. And that 66th is worse than Si-Won Kim's finish in that major at 62nd. And Si-Won Kim is the worst golfer in LIV. But you didn't even call Bryson because he wasn't in the rankings? You are the U.S. Ryder Cup captain. You're supposed to know these rankings are faulty. And because they should be counting live tournaments, which are real. They're not just weekend hidden giggles. These are real, honest to goodness tournaments. Just because they don't get world ranking points doesn't mean they don't matter. I mean, watch Anirban Lahiri's reaction after missing his putt to force a playoff against Bryson yesterday. He looks distraught and angry and just miffed, even though he's teammates with Bryson, even though it doesn't count towards any world ranking points, even though he's still going to win like $3 million, he looks disappointed. And for those of you who don't say that these tournaments don't matter, then why was Brooks Koepka last year crying after winning his first tournament in over a year in Live Golf Jeddah? Why was Cameron Smith disappointed that he won a Live Golf tournament but failed to get his team into a team playoff against the four aces? Zach Johnson is just wasting his power, his responsibility as the U.S. Ryder Cup captain. You are trying to put together the best squad possible, and you are not even calling guys like Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Reed, Dustin Johnson. You are not calling Taylor Gooch, who's won 3 times this year, the most of any American, all of which have been on foreign soil, including in Spain, which is Europe, which is in Europe. It's mind-boggling to me. You are supposed to set aside politics and just pick the best squad possible. You know what, Zach? You could have used this as an opportunity, since both the PGA Tour and Live Golf are merging, more like becoming one, creating a new entity. Anyways, you could have used this as a way to bring the game back together. You could have been the one to force it, to coerce it, to be the mediator who brings the game together, brings in both Live and PGA Tour together to face off against them filthy Europeans. And harmonize golf once and for all. But no, you decided to worry about how you're going to look as Ryder Cup captain if you pick Live Golf players. You were too concerned about politics over winning the Ryder Cup. But, no, apparently. Apparently. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to pick guys like Justin Thomas, who did not earn a spot on that Ryder Cup team. He wanted to pick guys like Ricky, who's there because he's popular. I know he won a tournament this year, but he's really there because he's popular. And the only reason he picked Brooks Koepka is because he had to. He could not pick Brooks Koepka and not expect a huge backlash. And man, I do want the U.S. Ryder Cup team to win. I'm not, obviously. I'm an American. I want them to win. But man, it does make it hard to root for it when this captain doesn't even care. Just disgraceful. Honestly, disgraceful. Anyways, moving on. The Live Golf and PGA Tour are merging, but no one cares about that. No one really cares because we have even bigger news. The XFL and USFL are merging into one spring league. Yeah, I know. This is I'm actually really excited about this. I learned about this recently, that the USFL and XFL were merging, which I was like, whoa, that's cool. And I'm just going to be interested to see what happens, because one of the biggest gripes that I had with spring football is just there aren't enough teams. There just aren't enough players. There aren't enough storylines. You haven't gotten invested in it yet. But now I'm going to be a little more invested, honestly, because you have, USFL teams and XFL teams, so that's now 16 teams. You're going to have them probably face off against each other, AFC, NFC style. I imagine they'll meet in their own separate playoffs, and then the winner of those 2 championship games will go on to face in the ultimate XFL, USFL Bowl. And man, I just really like this. I think this could be fun. Like a minor NFL kind of a thing in the spring. 16 teams? USFL and XFL having their own separate fan bases. The USFL being more like the old NFL where they're about real football and developing players and being the best performance we can. While the XFL is being more like the AFL where we're cool. We got, The Rock as our head. We have fun plays. We have high scoring, interesting teams, cool, flashy uniforms, and they'll be facing off against the USFL. And I'm just kind of interested, kind of excited to watch. Honestly, I want to know if any teams can beat the Birmingham Stallions, who have won the USFL championship in the back-to-back years. I want to know how it's all going to shake out. Will my Vegas Vipers be good? No. Will my... And I want to see the rivalries between USFL fans and XFL fans. I'm more of a USFL guy myself. I don't know, I just kind of like it. It kind of seems really cool. And this benefits the XFL because the USFL does have TV contracts with Fox, so they'll be played nationally, easy to pick up. It'll be interesting, and I just very, very excited. Well, not very excited. I'm kind of excited. Not gonna lie. It was an interesting news to hear, and can't wait to see what happens. Maybe the winner of the USFL XFL game goes to Canada to play the winner of the Grey Cup. Could you imagine having Chad Kelly versus Kyle Sloter? That would be sick. Or the Birmingham Stallions versus Chad Kelly. I'm just saying. And then obviously the winner of that game plays the winner of the AFC West. No, just kidding. Plays the Denver Broncos, and whoever wins gets upgraded to the NFL, while the Denver Broncos have to go to the USFL or something. I don't know. It'd be kind of fun. Anyways, I just thought that was cool, and I thought I'd share. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 1-2. How? Now, this game was going to be overlooked anyways because the Denver Broncos were blown out 70-20. But more people need to be talking about the fact that the Jacksonville Jaguars are 1-2. And just watching their games, I'm like, what on earth is going on here? I mean, I saw those bad highlights from the Broncos yesterday, but the Jaguars? It's like every time they got the ball on offense, it ended with a turnover. Every time on special teams, it was a disaster. I mean, Brandon McManus missed a 50-yard field goal. Shocked. He had a field goal blocked, and the team gave up a return touchdown to former Denver Bronco Andrew Beck, who could really help the team out right now on defense. Wait. But seriously, what's up with the Jacksonville Jaguars? I mean, they've just been off this year, and I'm honestly surprised. Like, they came out hot right out of the gate with that Indianapolis game. They did kick their butts. Calvin Ridley and Trevor Lawrence looked like a great connection. The defense was humming, even though Anthony Richardson was going off, but they stopped him. Special teams was all right. Brandon McManus was hitting all the field goals, and then they go into Kansas City last week, and they can't do anything offensively. Which surprises me, because they have Evan Ingram at tight end. They have Christian Kirk. They have Zay Jones. Yep. They have Calvin Ridley. They have Travis Etienne. They have Trevor Lawrence. They have Doug Peterson, and their offense was stymied. Stymied by Steve Spagnuolo's defense. Was that Steve Spagnuolo for the Chiefs? I don't know. I think so. Yeah, Spags. They didn't score a single offensive touchdown. Or any touchdown, for that matter. Only 9 points against Kansas City, who I thought they would beat. And then Houston, a game they should win, coming off of a loss at Kansas City, they get rolled by a team that's been terrible. Like, really not good. They lost to the Ravens. They lost to the Colts. But then they just allow C.J. Stroud, who looks amazing, by the way, to just throw for another 300-yard passing game against them, to score a few touchdowns. And Trevor Lawrence, like, what has happened? This man, I don't know what to say about this man anymore. Sometimes he is showing the most brilliant plays you'll ever see. Other times he looks, well, like the first half against the Chargers where he threw 4 interceptions. I mean, this year he has 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and an 84 passer rating. 84 is like Joe Flacco. Is Trevor Lawrence Joe Flacco? Like, I thought this team would be fighting for the number 1 seed. They have such an easy schedule. They had a revenge tour coming against Kansas City, and they just come out flat. I don't get it. I really don't. Doug Peterson, I thought, turned it around. Like, I thought it was just a slow start for them last season when they lost to Denver and whatnot. They were 2-6. I thought it was just because it was taking so long to implement everything. But no, I'm not sure what, but maybe the Jaguars just aren't that good. Well, I mean, I think they'll be fine, but I don't think they're as good as we thought. Which is honestly kind of surprising. I mean, I thought Calvin Ridley would be doing a little bit better than he has been. No, I'm not just a disappointed fantasy owner. Yes, I'm just a disappointed fantasy owner. What's happening? I don't get it. Maybe there was a reason he was fired from Philly. Maybe it was benching future, should have been MVP Jalen Hurts. I don't know. It was sticking with Carson Wentz over Nick Foles. Yeah, that would do it. But I'm just shocked that they're this bad. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, 84 passer rating in his career. Huh. And we consider him to be better than Josh Allen? Better than Justin Herbert? Well, that makes sense. Better than Joe Burrow? No one actually considers that, but better than Lamar? I'm not so certain anymore. I certainly don't think so. But yeah, that's bizarre. They really need to get this turned around right now. Now, I didn't get out my predictions this week. I don't know what happened. I just got lazy, I guess, and I also kind of forgot about it. But I went 9-7 for those wondering. Wasn't great. This past week, I have no clue. But yeah, certainly interesting. I think I have the Bengals winning tonight and the Philadelphia Eagles, so we'll see about that. But I think that's going to do it for me today. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Roughing the Passer. The show has talked football, miscellaneous stuff, and mostly football. I am your host, Sam Ruffing. Please hit the subscribe button if you want to see all of my future uploads. Please hit the bell so you know when those uploads are uploaded. Share this with your friends and family, and hit that like button. Comment on whatever below. And yeah, once again, thanks. See ya.